veteran receiver Terry McLaurin, who held out for 4 days from Washington training camp, showed up on Sunday. 4 days later, he demands to be traded. Now, it means nothing if the team doesn't want to do it, but it adds to the distraction. I had somebody tell me the other day, and this makes sense. Why would you hold out and lose $50,000 a day that you're never going to get back, especially if you're a veteran on a second contract, because they can't waive the fines when you do come back? Why would you lose that? Terry McLaurin loses $200,000. Why? What did he gain from that? Why not just go and be a distraction? And one way you become a distraction when you go is to ask for a trade. Now you've created this cloud that is going to undermine everything the team is trying to do. It's like, hey, you want to make this distraction go away? Take care of me. So I don't know that he really wants out, and obviously they don't have to do it. And I remember Myles Garrett back in early February demanding to be traded by the Browns, and there's no problem the Browns won't throw money at, and they got him signed to a $40 million per year new money average contract after he demanded a trade, and he doesn't see any path to a Super Bowl in Cleveland, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know where all this goes, but of all the disgruntled players that we are aware of during this year's training camp, McLaurin, the first one to press the button, trade me.
Wow. I mean, a big development. And on one hand, I can't understand how the Commanders got here. I look at it that way. How did the Commanders get themselves in this situation? There's been so much goodwill the last year. They got Daniel Snyder out, celebration parades every day because there's no Daniel Snyder. You had the worst owner in football. He's gone. And then you go to the conference championship game, unexpected, and we knew that really they had no shot against Philadelphia, but just that run, going to Detroit and knocking them off, and Jaden Daniels, so much goodwill. How do you allow yourself to get into this situation with Terry McLaurin? So that's one. But the other thing, Mike, is he doesn't want to be traded. I don't think he wants to be traded. I think his feelings are hurt because he has been, all the stuff I mentioned about the Commanders' past, he was there for it and didn't say a word, never complained. That was a guy who just showed up. He had a lot of mediocre quarterbacks throwing him the football. He had different coaching staffs, different offensive coordinators, different philosophies, heard all the jokes about the Commanders, and was excited to be there, and was just an elite receiver in a situation where a lot of people really couldn't be elite receivers, all the quarterbacks who have thrown the football to him. So I think he looks at it and says, well, why won't they? This is not your ordinary, hey, give me a new contract. It's, I want a new contract because of what I am right now, but also what I've done, what I've been to the organization. And I'm on his side. I really think that the Commanders, this is a no-brainer to me. Just pay him. Pay him just north of $30 million, give him guarantees that make sense, that are competitive, and just move on. It's just crazy that they have Terry McLaurin in this situation.
And he's entering the last year of his second contract. And this is always an issue when you're doing the back-end years of any deal, how much money is in there in the final years. And they agreed that $15.5 million is what Terry McLaurin would make this year. So he's under contract, and the team can say you're under contract, and that's the starting point. The market has gone north of 40 for Jamar Chase. The reasonable high end of the market is mid-30s. But when you're at 15.5, the easy question is, does he deserve a new contract? Yes. The harder question is, how much is he going to make? He turns 30 in September. That's undoubtedly a factor for the team. When does the drop-off begin? There was talk about that with the Steelers and T.J. Watt. Now, at the end of the day, the Steelers gave Watt 3 years fully guaranteed. So McLaurin reasonably could ask for 2 years fully guaranteed, and then the Commanders can decide what to do after that. But the number and the structure, they obviously haven't come close to a decision. They're not even close enough to come up with a way to split the remainder and create a win-win or whatever. They are at impasse. They are at loggerheads. And this is either an effort by McLaurin to get out, if we take him at his word, or it's an effort to just create enough of a mess so they finally deal with him. And I'm with you. Why would he want to leave? He suffered through the years of crap, and now the payoff is coming. And it's not like they have a bunch of high-end alternatives. Yes, they brought in Deebo Samuel, but they didn't bring him in to replace Terry McLaurin. They brought him in to enhance Terry McLaurin. And Deebo's making more money this year than Terry McLaurin, so that's part of it as well. And they can't pay Jaden Daniels until after the conclusion of the 2026 season. So they got a lot of cash and cap space that they get to pocket or redirect. This is the perfect 2 years for Terry McLaurin to get paid. You get a bunch of money the next 2 years. We see where it goes after that, and that's when Jaden Daniels is going to be knocking on the door saying, pay me.
Mike, I was going to ask you a question. I am going to ask you a question on this. You just brought it up. You have Terry McLaurin and all of the things that are on the table for Washington. Question is, does he have leverage? You think he has leverage?
Well, he tried his leverage of withholding services, and what did it do? It didn't do anything because the most recent CBA makes it clear that they can't waive the fines. It disincentivizes holding out. And denial of services is the ultimate leverage. He tried it, and it didn't work. And unless you're prepared to hunker down and give up a lot of money that maybe they'll give back to you in the next contract, but how much of that is really going to come back? How that money is still gone. Those fines are still going to be paid. It is still going to hurt. $50,000 a day, $50,000 a day, $50,000 a day. So, and Chris and I talked about this yesterday. One of the various things that Pablo Torre and I discovered during our 3 episodes and counting together working on NFLPA issues, there was a grievance ruling earlier this year that was hidden by everyone, arising from J.C. Treader, the former union president and now former chief strategy officer, suggesting that disgruntled players should fake injuries. I had a long conversation with someone the other day, and it opened my eyes to the fact that you don't have to fake anything. You've been playing football for 20 years. There is something on your body that isn't 100%, and you can focus on. It's not faking, it's focusing. Hey, I've got bone spurs in my ankle. Hey, I've got this chronic thing with my hip. Hey, I've got this, I've got that. So his leverage comes from saying, I'm injured, I can't practice. It's a tough thing, though, because it gets back to the whole big picture, owners shutting down football, players wanting to play. Terry McLaurin wants to play football. So it's against the nature of a football player to say, I've got this thing that I'd otherwise play through, but I'm not going to play through it because I don't have financial security beyond this year. So that's where his leverage at this point comes from. The ability to say, I've got some chronic nagging thing that keeps me from practicing or playing if he's willing and wired to do it.
I think he has leverage, but it's delayed. We won't see it until September. Their first game, or say their first couple of games. If this is not resolved, his leverage comes from his performance, what they are when he's there, and what they are when he's gone. They don't know it yet. They're going to find out. I remember years ago, Mike, when the Cowboys were good, when the Cowboys were champions. And remember, Emmitt Smith had a contract dispute, and I think they played 2 games without Emmitt Smith. They started off 0-2. And I remember the players, after they lost that second game, I can't remember the name of the running back, but he certainly was no Emmitt Smith. Backup running back out there, couldn't do anything. Cowboys were 0-2, and the veterans, I remember Charles Haley being pissed. I mean, Michael Irvin, they were pissed. Like, what are we doing? They basically called out Jerry Jones, how certain things don't change, right? They called out Jerry Jones, and Emmitt Smith was signed, and the Cowboys went on to win the Super Bowl. The leverage was, this is who we are without Emmitt Smith. This is not good enough. Terry McLaurin saved the Commanders last year, and what happens when you have a successful season, people take credit who don't necessarily deserve all of it. So Dan Quinn got a lot of credit, not on the field. Cliff Kingsbury got a lot of credit, not on the field. Adam Peters got a lot of credit, even though he had 2 draft picks that kind of washed out in year 1. I mean, Luke McCaffrey, 3rd-round pick, gave him nothing. tight end from Kansas State. They picked it second round, gave him nothing. Terry McLaurin made Jaden Daniels' transition to the NFL a lot easier. And so now you don't have McLaurin. Debo without McLaurin, don't like that. They got a rookie, Jalen Lane. I mean, I think his leverage, if he's able to wait, I think he'll get his contract when they see what life is like without him.
Derek Lassick was the running back who replaced Emmitt Smith.
From Alabama?
Losses to Washington and Buffalo. Derek Lassick, hang on. It's one click away.
Yes.
Alabama, very well done. He was.
That's the guy.
He was a fourth-round pick in 1993, Derek Lassick. And 2 games with Derek Lassick, 2 losses to Washington and to Buffalo, and that was that for the Emmitt Smith holdout. And then they would go back to the Super Bowl. First team to ever start 0-2. I remember all that as it was happening. No teams ever started 0-2 and won the Super Bowl. Well, the Cowboys did, because back came Emmitt Smith because they finally paid him. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.